This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku's Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
We got Karen Ashley, our Yellow Ranger.
Hello.
And then we got our red and blue, Steve Cardenas.
Yo, what up?
Like that, I got hit with the bright light when I walked right in front of us.
Hey guys, how are you?
What's up?
Oh, they put on turbo.
I know. What time is it, guys?
It's Morphin time!
It's Morphin time! They're on it. They're ready.
Right. So, speaking of It's Morphin time and costumes, there was a recent auction. I don't know if you guys, I think both of you had Karen. It was Katherine. It was Katherine.
Oh.
Hello?
Oh, yeah. So what did you guys think about the Hasbro selling off on the props and costumes, and what was your ideas on that?
Well, it was a little bit bittersweet, just because.
That's the word right there.
Yeah, we didn't get anything. None of us have anything. I do have my turbo suit, but only because Jason Frank stole it. But we just didn't get any of the paraphernalia. So it's kind of interesting that Hasbro sold it and made so much money when they could have given all of us a suit and still sold suits, because we had more than one suit. So that's how I felt at first. But then I kind of went past that and felt like this is a beautiful opportunity for fans to have something from the show that really means a lot to them. So I kind of went full circle.
Yeah, she's nicer than me. No, I felt like, the only silver lining I felt was kind of what she said was, for 30 years, they've just been rotting away in a box in a warehouse somewhere, And so at least now I know, there are a whole lot of fans. And a lot of them got in touch with me. They were like, I got this. They were so excited. And so now it's going to be loved and it's going to be cherished and, all that good stuff. But she's right. They could have totally hooked everybody up with the suit. There was multiple suits for each of us. There was stunt suits.
Helmets.
Yeah, there was so much and we didn't get anything and we didn't steal anything and we should have. I don't condone stealing, but that's the one thing I regret. I should have just taken it. But I thought, they're going to call the police. I don't know why I was so afraid. But yeah, that's the only, it's very bittersweet.
You see?
Yeah, they already said it all right there. How much more I can say, but I wanted that stuff too. And, I'm happy that the fans are going to be able to get it, but, it would have been cool to have some of that stuff for us.
Jason thought bid on his suit, and he got his suit for $5,000.
Oh, see, but that makes me mad. Jason thought should not have paid $5,000 for his own suit that he made famous.
Yes.
That his character, he brought that character to life, and I love it. Saban had this crazy idea. If you watch the Japanese show and you go, how did they take that and make this? It's crazy that they thought of it. So there's some genius there. But all of the actors, we brought those characters to life, and that would have been the most beautiful thing. 30 years, that would have been a beautiful gift. So, and it's funny because those SPA suits that Johnny and I wore, we literally begged them on the set. We were like, please give them to us. They're like, no, we got to archive them. We got to, blah, blah, blah. And then they were for sale.
Lame. That was one thing I was really surprised to see, that they were selling the Once and Always stuff. Now it's brand new stuff, made for you guys, basically. So, I don't know what Hasbro, well, I may know a little bit, but I don't know what Hasbro's planning, but.
The civilian clothes we wore in Once and Always, they wanted to keep, and they didn't sell those in the auction. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the next auction.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's another one coming.
It's October, or something like that.
Next year.
Oh, okay. So, Once and Always, all three of you came back to Once and Always. Now, what was it like? You guys were in the Saban era. Obviously, there's Saban, Disney, and Neo Saban. What was it like coming back from back in the day to now with Hasbro? What was the differences you guys saw?
The budget.
Yeah, the budget.
Yeah, it was a bigger budget for sure, but honestly, for me, it was how you guys as the fans, you get nostalgia when you meet us or whatever. But we got nostalgia stepping onto those old sets, like they had recreated the juice bar. That's the same one that was from, 30 years ago, and it looked exactly the same. And I was like, wow, this is bringing back memories for me.
He and I were together and went in, and they showed us Rita's dumpster, and then we went into the Moon Palace and the juice bar, and we were freaking out. We were like, oh my gosh.
It was so cool to see all that stuff recreated.
Yeah. And when we got there, Johnny and I got there, it was like she took us on the same tour. We were like, get out of town.
Yeah.
And what's crazy was my stunt double was now the director, the second unit director. And so it was just like, we saw those guys and we were like, oh, it was like we were literally hugging them. And it was beautiful to go to New Zealand. Because, the show's obviously been there for 20 years. It's been there longer than it was here in America. And so to know, like, a lot of those, crew, they'd worked on the show for 20 years. Like, this was their baby as much as it was ours. And so it was really nice to finally meet everybody.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
I heard a lot, like, David Yost had a lot of notes for when he got on set. Now, I'm kind of curious.
He always has notes.
Did you guys have any notes, or what were your thoughts when you got onto set? Like, oh, maybe that's not right, or maybe you guys should do this. Was there anything you guys kind of thought?
I felt like it was they were a lot more specific about the way we morphed. Like, we were doing a stunt rehearsal for the morphing, and Steve and I were a little bit like.
I remember they were putting a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah,
it was like, look how we did it.
Our arm, and I was like, they're like, you need to stand like this first, and we were like, but we didn't do that. But we just morphed. It's like it was just a little bit overthought. And then I had to say pterodactyl for the first time. I remember being a little bit nervous about that because I'd never said it before, and I was like, oh, they're going to compare me with Amy Jo, So yeah.
Anything for Karen?
We actually had a lot of questions because, like, when we came in, we didn't understand, like, what is this? And Johnny was, like, emailing them, asking all these questions, and he was, like, texting me, like, in the middle of the night. We'd be texting at, like, 2 a.m, and he was like, are we SPD? Like, what's going on? Or we really didn't know. And luckily, though, he was asking all these questions because then the next time we got a draft, we were SPA. And it was like some of the things that he was asking actually got answered. And I think it was important because fans would have been like, what is this? They still had questions at the end, but I think, a lot of the things he helped kind of tie up the loose ends.
Anything for you, Steve? Anything for you? Are you kind of like, you guys can fix this?
No, I didn't have any questions with it. I honestly just sort of rolled with it. I was just happy to be there, and I'm like, whatever. As long as the suit looks the same and all that, it's fine. The morphing sequence, I remember that, they were a little bit like, retentive about that. But other than that, I was fine with it. I liked the script. I thought it was cool. And honestly, though, I really felt like Dave did give a lot of good notes and stuff. So I was actually really kind of pleased that he was so hands-on with it, offering that stuff that maybe we didn't want to say, So I think that was good.
I think the only note I heard about was the viewing globe. He didn't like the viewing globe. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I was a bit confused about that because the viewing globe was where we used to always watch like what was going on in Angel Grove.
There wasn't a viewing globe?
They didn't use the viewing globe in the episode. And so
I thought there was some kind of monitor that we were looking at rather than the viewing globe.
Forward.
High tech. Yeah. So maybe that's why. Maybe it was because he was like, well, we've grown past the viewing globe now.
Upgrades, Wi-Fi upgrades. Don't need the viewing globe anymore.
We didn't have Wi-Fi in 94 or 95. There wasn't very good Wi-Fi.
Now, the special ended very, very open-ended, right? And then it was obviously done.
Yeah, they really did leave it open, like they were, going to make more stuff. I thought they were going to.
Do you guys have any ideas? I know, Karen, we talked about the SPA idea. We've talked to Katherine about what you think. What would you have liked to see if they kept on going with it?
Well, there was two things I thought were going to happen. I thought they were either going to do a spin-off and do like the Rangers were like mentors and maybe their kids were now going to be the new Rangers or something like that. Or they were going to do like specials like they did the MMPR special. Maybe they would do a Zeo and a Turbo, like do different specials for each season.
Only stuff where they bring us back.
Only
none of the other guys.
Mandatory.
It's always got to be us.
Yeah, mandatory.
Yes. And then I also
and then they threw it in the trash.
It would be really cool if they took the comics and made the comics a show.
Yeah, there are a
So-
lot of ideas that Boom
Yeah.
Studios and those writers have created, and the storylines they've taken.
Yes.
You know, there's so much to work with. There's so much material there. I mean, I really feel like they're dropping the ball in that regard.
I do too. I mean, literally, like after we did the special, like me and Melissa Flores had a dinner. Like we just go to dinner at least every couple months, and she was like, "Tell me about this and tell me about that." And she like asked me all the questions of what we did, and then she wanted to know more about SPA, and I was like, "We totally pitched them. Like we were like, think Guardians of the Galaxy meets Power Rangers, and it's all former Power Rangers but from different seasons, and we make up the Space Patrol team, and this is how we introduce the Space Patrol." She's like, "Oh my God, that's great. We should do that in the comics if they don't do it in the TV show." And I go, "They're not going to do it in the TV show." They were like, "Thank you, but no thank you." So, but I told her, I was like, "Yeah, it'd be great to do it in the comics. I mean, I think that's a really cool idea."
Speaking of the comics, I've talked to Melissa too before, and she's always been like, the comics are the comics. I don't know if they'll ever do, it on screen. We want them to, but that's a high grade decision. But Steve, you just wrote a story for the comic.
Yes.
Catherine, you had a lot of input on some comic book story as well. We'll start with you, Steve, since you just wrote the recent one. What was it like going through that process with Boom and kind of like getting that story together for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, thankfully, I was teamed up with Matt Groom, who was one of the writers for them, and he's actually written some stories about Rocky. And a long time ago, when Boom first started doing stories, first started doing Power Rangers, I had told them that there's some of the background of Rocky's character was that he had a large family, and that he was like. It was like, his mom was a single parent, and that he has to do a lot of not only did he have to do all the schoolwork and all the Power Ranger stuff, but he also had to teach martial arts at the youth center, and then he also had to take care of his younger siblings as well. So he always had a lot on his plate, and so
That sounds like you.
Nothing like me.
I just I had a large family growing
cleaned
up.
up version of you.
Martial arts stuff.
Oh well, I did do that too. Yeah. But it was like trying to come up with a story. I was like, well, look, what about this idea that hey, Rocky's so overworked that somehow he forgets to put his morpher away, and his little sister finds it. Oh, now what's going to happen if his secret gets discovered, and all of a sudden his sister finds the morpher, and then she pushes the button, and next thing you know, she's suited up, and now she's running around wreaking havoc in the city because she's got all these powers, and she doesn't know how to use them, and gets herself into trouble, and then the Rangers have to come and save. So I thought that might be a good storyline, and how could we tell something like that, and sort of get this idea about what Rocky's life is outside of just the Ranger stuff that he does. And so that was good. And so I kind of gave him that idea, and then he ran with, fill in all the words, the right things to say, and that's kind of how that story came about.
Yeah, it was
You're
really
a
good.
storyboarder now. That's basically what
Yeah, you totally did it. I love that. Good job,
Oh.
Steve.
Any interest in doing more of that?
I need a copy of that, and I need it autographed.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I would do more if they asked me, but I don't know. I don't want to spend a bunch of time creating something and they go, okay, great, thanks. Now, I don't want to waste time. I'm like, if you come to me, I'll do it. But if I have to come to you and beg you to do something, most likely you don't want me anyway. Yeah, exactly.
And Catherine, we had talked about you had a lot of input on the after story with in between Dino Thunder and
Yes.
the Ninja Steel
Yes.
anniversary. What was that like?
Yeah, Melissa, she's such a great writer. She's so talented, and she wanted to do a story to kind of fill the gap of how Tommy and Kat ended up getting back together because of Dino Thunder. You never hear him mention anything about me. So she was kind of just asking, where do you think Kat went, and how do you think they reunited, and I just liked the idea of that they went their separate ways, and then they reunited later on in life, and that's kind of where we went with it.
I loved it. It was there was a good moment in there where you had to go save
him.
Save Tommy.
I saved Tommy. Yes.
In a wedding dress.
In a wedding dress. Yes. No, that was really cool.
Any interest? Any other ideas for you as well? Like maybe going back to helping Melissa on another story.
I liked consulting. I haven't written a comic. I'm a little bit intimidated by that. That's why I was so impressed by you guys doing it. But yeah, I do have some ideas. But I kind of feel like Steve. I'm like, let's see if they
Yeah,
want
like
me
right.
to.
It's like, come to me if you want. You have to. I can tell you I have an idea, and then if you say okay, let's
Go with
for
it.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
I'll do it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna like volunteer all my stuff. And all of a sudden it ends up in a story that I didn't contribute to.
Yes, we learned the hard way with that, huh?
They were kind of like when they promoted that book, it was kind of promoted as like this might be an anthology. Like we might be getting multiple issues with like the Rangers coming back. And did they really say anything like that, or is this just like kind of a one shot? Or for Steve?
Yeah, Steve. Did they say they were going to continue?
I don't know. They didn't say anything about like that to me. I actually when they approached me about it, I didn't realize that it was going to be all those stories in one book together like that. I thought each of us were going to get our own story. Yeah, it's all in one book. Yeah, and each story is only like 8 pages long. So.
Well, the new one callback's about 12, was it maybe 20 pages long actually. So that's not half the story.
Yeah.
And Karen, I know you want to do that SPA story so bad.
Yeah,
I think we should. Yeah, I think
you can put that together for
right.
For
I know.
Studios.
Maybe one day.
And your idea is Guardians of the Galaxy goes Power Rangers.
Yeah, think about it. I love Marvel and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's one of my favorite stories, and it's one of the best stories because it's about they really go deep on the characters and who they are as people and how they became here and what, it's like that final Guardians. I was bawling. Like, I was like, oh, it was always about Rocket, it was just like, oh, it was so deep and so great. And it just was such a cool situation. So I think like if you did something like that with a lot of heart and a lot of, you have this, former Rangers and they have to come together and they have to do something, and they come back, and they're kind of back in action just because they're forced into a situation that's, they can't control. So, and they risk it all. I think it would be awesome. And then later,
Nikia hinted at it in her comic.
I still think that
Johnny,
whatever.
Oh, really?
You and Johnny are
I still think
in
whatever's
space.
done next should be an actual movie, though.
I think so
like,
too.
And honestly, and guys, you should all get behind this and you put the word out there in the universe. Like, we need Adi Shankar to do that movie. We need
Right.
that guy because he is incredible. If you guys ever saw that YouTube parody he did, that really dark Power Ranger thing, it was it was over the top on purpose and it was over the top dark on purpose. But if you could see the visuals of it, like it was so good, And
You get 1 million plus likes in one day.
Right.
That says something.
And it's like, and I know that he loves Power Rangers, like, which is why he made that thing in the first place. And I know that he would love to do something, like that again. So he needs to hear it from you guys, though. So maybe you guys need to reach out to him and tell him it's time that we need to make a real Power Ranger movie.
It's all up to them. Because anytime they demand something, then they usually get it. So you guys just got to start to write those very stern emails, guys. Come on.
Comment on Instagram on the Hasbro Pulse. So we're coming to the end. So last thing I'm going to ask you guys, because I think you guys are familiar with me. I talked to a lot of Rangers, and they're always telling me, like, I wish I would have kind of done this or done that. If you guys could go back in time and say, like, you wish you could have told your younger self something when you're on the show, what would you have said? I'll start with you, Katherine.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on. I think I would have said, stop worrying so much what people think and enjoy the moment, stay in the moment. I was just a very insecure young lady. And I think I wish that I had have gotten out of my head sometimes and just enjoyed the moment more.
I don't know. We had a really cool run. It was really cool. I think the only thing I would have done is stop and smell the roses because it went by so fast. And so it was like we were doing all these things and we were going to all these places and it was just happening so fast. And so like you blink and it was like, wow, a whole year and a half has gone by and and I think if
it happened pretty quick for us.
Yeah, and if we would have just sat there and kind of took it in a little more, I think that would have been awesome. I would have wanted to do that.
The only thing I would have liked to have changed is I probably would have stuck it out and did the Turbo movie and the Turbo season and finished that out and left with the rest of my castmates. And the other thing I would have told myself is buy Bitcoin. When you can get it for 0.8 cents.
Right. Why didn't we buy Bitcoin? Dang it.
I would have invested in Apple, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, Amazon. I wish I'd thought of Amazon. Damn it.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Yes.
Come see us tomorrow at our table.
Yeah.
We're leaving for the day, but come
Tomorrow we'll be there. We'd love to meet you. We obviously have stuff you can buy, but even if you don't come and buy, just come and say hi. We'd love to meet you. Thank you so much for having us, NostalgiaCon.
We love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.